Hey everyone, it's Brian here from the Commodore 64 Appreciation Society, and I have a question for you. How many of you remember this? The level is called General Quarters, and it's one of the most iconic levels in one of the most iconic early games released for the Commodore 64, Beachhead. This game blew my 11-year-old mind when it came out in 1983. Finally, games were starting to rival what we would see at arcades. And my friends and I would play it for hours, passing joysticks back and forth while we were competing for a high score. Today, I'm going to revisit Beachhead more than 40 years after I first played it. And I gotta say, I can't wait. Let's be honest, Beachhead was never the hardest game to beat, especially on the lower difficulties. But that doesn't mean I'll be any good at it all these years later. Essentially, it's a series of 5 mini-games, put together in a campaign where our goal is to establish a beachhead on an island called Kuhn-Lin. And along the way, we'll be treated to some cool graphics and great sound effects. The sound design is truly amazing, and I remember being told by parents on more than one occasion to turn the volume down. I guess they didn't like their house sounding like a war zone at 1 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So today, I'll be playing Beachhead, trying to get through to the end. And along the way, we'll explore a bit of its history, legacy, and really, just what made it one of the most memorable games for anyone who experienced it. Alright, we're loaded up. Let's run this. But of course, first, the hacker screen. Back in the day, these intros felt as normal as the game itself, and I knew the big hacker groups as well as I knew any of the game developers. Eaglesoft and Triad were a couple of the major ones back then. Today, it's far more common to find games done by Jack Alien and his, aptly enough, Remember Group. And Jack's trainers are now legendary. Remember that level you just couldn't pass all those years ago? Well, you can now use a trainer to get unlimited lives, skip levels, and more. I won't be using them in this playthrough, but it's always nice to have options. Oh, check out that title screen. Bright, colorful, and it sets the tone perfectly. Alright, we're going to play at skill level 1. I'm not trying to be an actual war hero here. And we're off! Beachhead starts off with an aerial view of the section of land we're fighting over, and our objective is to establish a, well, beachhead so that our troops can land. And right off the bat, it gives us a choice. There are 2 flashing locations, the beach and this little section of an island, which is actually a secret passage, but it's a secret that I'm going to avoid for now. I'll get there soon, but the fact that we have an option right off the bat is interesting, and it actually leads to some pretty significant repercussions. So, let's skip the passage for now and head right towards the beach, where the enemy fleet is waiting for us. When you ask people what they remember most about Beachhead, this stage is usually what they mention. It's certainly the one I remember most. It's officially the 3rd sequence in the game. The secret passage is the 2nd. And our job is to take out the enemy aircraft before they can damage our fleet. And remember when I said there were repercussions for skipping that passage? Well, this is a big one. Had we taken it, they'd only have 10 aircraft ready for us. But since we took them head on, we have 30 to deal with. 30! So risking the secret passage makes... Oh, bonus plane, nice! So risking the secret passage makes the stage much easier. For one, it's a lot faster. But way more than that, it gives the enemy planes much less chance to take out our fleet. Which means that we'll get to that final level with more tanks. So yeah, taking the secret passage is generally the better way to go. But while we're here and have 30 enemies to take down, let's talk about it a bit because it's a lot of fun. We're in control of an anti-aircraft gun. It uses aircraft control, so pushing up makes you aim lower, and pushing down does the opposite. Oh, just lost a ship. And generally, you want to start firing at the aircraft as soon as they start to get a bit bigger on the screen. You can start earlier if you want, but your ammo takes time to replenish, so you don't want to use it all too quickly. It slows down your fire and makes it more difficult to hit the other planes, so you need to be mindful of how much you're shooting. On the easiest level, which is what I'm playing, you can take 20 hits before a ship is sunk, but on all the other difficulty levels, you can only take 10. And if we're talking strategy here, the general idea is to try to take the planes down quickly, but know when to give up. If you don't get them down fast enough, they open fire and then veer away. And once they start veering away, don't waste your ammo. It's too late and you should instead try to get ready for the next guy. Oh man, listening to the sounds has taken me right back, and they are just incredible. The firing guns and the explosions are some of the best on the 64. And at the time, in 1984, they were mind-blowing. At one point, a couple of years later, I had my 64 hooked up to a stereo, and I could play games through the big speakers. And Beachhead sounded absolutely incredible through that bassy setup. I know my mom was thrilled. Anyway, another tip is to avoid shooting the bonus planes unless you know you have the time. Because, they just give extra points and don't actually damage anything. But come on, bonus points. Alright, that's enough of this. We're getting close to finishing, but 30 planes is a lot, and I actually want to go back to the start and run through the secret passage. Oh, and speaking of going back to the start, this seems like a good time to do exactly that. How about a short history of Beachhead? The history of Beachhead is very much the history of Access software. Bruce Carver was working as an engineer in Salt Lake City when he bought a Commodore 64 in 1982. Fascinated by the machine, he soon developed a sprite editing program he called Sprite Master, and shortly after, created their first game, a shooter released in 1983 called Neutral Zone. It did okay. Now working out of his basement with co-founders Roger Carver and Chris Jones, Bruce's next idea was a little more inspired. He had an enthusiasm for World War II movies and wanted to produce a game around those experiences. Carver envisioned a ship shooting down oncoming aircraft, and this formed the central level of a game about removing a dictator from the fictional island of Kuhn-Lin. Beachhead was born, and it wasn't just going to be an arcade game with one central mechanic. They developed a sequence of 5 very different scenarios and connected them together in an overarching campaign. It was released in 1983 for the Commodore 64 and Atari 8-bits and immediately became a hit in North America. Releases for other platforms followed, and the success established Access as a premier developer, one that would continue with other classics like Raid Over Moscow and Leaderboard Golf. But Access didn't enjoy their success alone, it extended overseas. At the time that Beachhead was released, Jeff Brown was looking at bringing US titles to Europe through his new distribution company, US Gold. Impressed with Beachhead, he flew to California and offered Access a 100,000 unit guarantee. Just a crazy sales number for the time, and one that Brown later says he just pulled out of the air. But Brown's gamble paid off. Beachhead was a smash breakout hit for US Gold, topping game charts and selling considerably more copies than 100,000. Alright, back to the front. I want to play Beachhead the right way, so I've started over and we're heading to the hidden passage. Which looks like this. You start with 10 ships, and your goal is to get as many of them across the passage as you can. But our enemy absolutely has something to say about that. The passage is just littered with mines, and a constant barrage of missiles is being fired in our direction. Moving the joystick left and right turns the ship, and pressing up or down changes its speed. And you can't move backwards, so progress is always forward moving, and sometimes it's hard to avoid the... yeah. So I guess I'm down to 9 ships. This is basically the entire level, but it's so worth it. For one, you get a lot of points for getting your ships across, but mostly it has to do with the effects later. We've already seen what happens in the general quarter sequence, but going through the passage also makes the other sequences easier. So, more points and easier to win the game? Yeah, this section really isn't optional, is it? One really interesting thing about the setup to Beachhead is that it really doesn't go into details about where we are, what we're doing. I mean, it sure feels like we're in the Pacific Theater in World War II, and we're trying to reach a place called Kuhn-Lin, but that's about all we're given. Later on in The Dictator Strikes Back, oh, that was a close one. In the sequel, we learn that we're going after a dictator known as the Dragon, but absolutely none of that is known here. Which is an interesting editorial choice, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It's a game about good versus evil, and damn it, we have an island to reach. As an 11-year-old, that's all I needed to know. I'm making pretty good progress here. Yeah, I lost that one ship, but that's just the cost of victory. Okay, 3 more to go. On more difficult levels, the missile speeds are faster, but that's the only difference. Two more. After making a few runs, you really get into the rhythm of the level and get pretty good at predicting the paths of each missile. Which is why I can predict that I'm going to get hit here. Yeah, okay, 2 ships lost. Not bad. But hey, time for the next level. I've already played General Quarters, so I won't go through the whole thing again. But now with only 10 planes to take down, it went much more quickly. Next up, battle stations. General Quarters might be the most iconic level, but battle stations is definitely the most epic. The ships in the distance look ominous, and the sound effects are just terrific. What I should be doing here is going after that ship on the right that's shooting at me. You generally have a lot of time to take out a ship, especially on the easy level. I think they get 5 misses before they can sink me here. Which is lots of time. Unless you're chasing that moving carrier and can't seem to make simple calculations. And of course I lost a ship. This is taking way too long. Seriously, my grade 5 math teacher would not be impressed right now. Oh, finally. Gotcha. And now for the small guy. Oh hey, good guess. He's toast. The aiming math is seriously simple. Each half a degree equals 100 meters. That's it. I'm freezing under the pressure here. And while I'm sitting here aiming and figuring out distances, the enemy ships are doing the exact same thing. They're taking a shot, making a correction, and then getting a little closer with the next. And hearing the mortars come in while I'm trying to line up shots really amps up the tension. "200 meters. Nailed ya. Like in General Quarters, this stage is considerably easier than normal because I went through the hidden passage. If you skip that stage, the battleships here are much more accurate, which results in a lot more sinking ships, and really amps up the pressure on my mathing, which clearly wouldn't be a good thing here, so yay hidden passage. "300 meters. This guy has been a nightmare." There you go. Take that. Alright, one more to go. 2,200 meters short. Okay, that means 78 degrees. Oh no, I clicked too soon. When my brain works, my hands don't. Alright, this should do it. Wait, what? Oh, okay. This will do it for real this time. Oh, hey, nice. I got out of that with only a single lost ship, which, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with. Time to hit the beach. It's just a short jaunt down there. And here we go. We're finally here. Each of our surviving ships drops off 2 tanks, up to a maximum of 8. So we're fully loaded. And as you'll see, the more tanks you have, the better. One at a time, we'll take a tank and battle through the enemy's defenses, avoiding obstacles and taking out installations, like this turret here. The trickiest part is the driving, mostly because the angle that your tank moves isn't the same as the angle for the obstacles, so you have to constantly make little adjustments using quick taps on the joystick, which can be tricky. The controls are very responsive and the collision detection is very touchy. And here we are. It's us against the final fort. And it's really big gun. This goes quickly, and the idea is to hit as many of the white targets as we can before getting taken out. We need 10 in total, which you'll never do on the first go, so it's back for round 2 with the tanks. Only this time, it's a bit harder. The game uses the same layouts, but there are now more enemies scattered throughout, and they are in different places, which forces you to take different paths. Oh, there's one. Gotta love the pink tank. Ah, crap. Stupid landmine. This right here is why you want to go through the hidden passage. You definitely shouldn't need 8 tanks to get you through to the final fort, but I generally lose at least a couple here. Starting with only 2 or 4 makes it extremely difficult to win. Oh, hey there, Pinky. Not this time. Oh man, I think I'll ignore that blue guy. Oh, seriously? That's what I meant with the angles. I turned in too hard. Okay, 5 tanks left. Of all the stages, this is definitely the least impressive graphically, but it's still a lot of fun to play. Oh, hey Pinky. Sure, I'm dying a lot, but you gotta love all those points. I'll just get myself in position for that blue guy. And nice, he didn't stand a chance this time. Of course. 4 left. I'll just take out that gun emplacement that looks strangely like a crossbow. And nice, got through. That's 3, 4, 5. Oh, almost. Well, getting 3 is pretty good actually. Just 5 to go. Which seems like a lot now. I'm getting low on tanks here. Oh man, this is getting embarrassing. Yep. And here we go. What a disaster. Just like my math teacher, 11-year-old me would not be impressed here. Even if I make it to the end now, it's not like I'll be able to get the 5 remaining targets. Man, between my bad math and bad driving, this hasn't been the best game you'll ever see. Yeah, of course. Kuhn-Lin is safe for another day. Okay, this is game over for now. And this playthrough has shown a lot of common mistakes and examples of what not to do while playing Beachhead. Which, yeah, is exactly what I was trying to do. But don't worry, redemption is coming. Beachhead made a huge splash when it was released. It became an instant bestseller, and the contemporary reviews were extremely favorable. Computer and Video Games gave it 9 out of 10, lauding its graphics and sound effects. Personal Computer Games awarded it 8 out of 10, again complimenting its graphics and sounds while praising its variety and structure. Most other magazines followed suit, and rightly so. Beachhead packaged multiple, very different minigames into a cohesive campaign, and it made your choices matter in a way that felt novel and exciting. Even the multi-part last stage, which purposefully made sacrifice part of the final victory, was unique. It was also a graphical and audio showcase for the Commodore 64 that set an early bar for quality. Seriously, the general quarters level made my jaw drop. The sounds and graphics were like nothing I had experienced before at home, and it turned the 64 into a platform that I just had to have. I'm sure I wasn't alone. And to me, being instantly memorable like that is where Beachhead's most significant legacy lies. As I've been playing Beachhead today, I'm taken back to the earliest days of the Commodore 64, sitting with my buddy in his bedroom, laughing at whatever dumb mistakes we're making. Of course, with the volume cranked up so we could hear the amazing sound effects. It felt like we were playing an arcade game at home, which really back then was all we wanted. Beachhead was accessible, it looked amazing, and every few minutes gave us something different to do. Simply, it was brilliant. And here I am, over 40 years later, still loving it, even though I haven't been playing well. But that's about to change. After a couple of games, I feel like I'm getting my groove back, and a little redemption is in order. So let's head back to the start. The hidden passage? No problem. I only lost a single ship. General quarters? Those 10 airplanes didn't stand a chance. And of course I got the bonuses. And battle stations? Well, let's just say that my math teacher won't be quite as disappointed in me. I figured things out a lot more quickly and got out of it with only one lost ship. And that was only because I was chasing down that first carrier again. I'm such a sucker for bonus points. Which brings us back here to the Beachhead. I've got 8 tanks, and quite frankly, I'm not about to let the game beat me this time. And yeah, I'm off to a great start. That's 2, 3, 4. Only 6 more shots to go. There goes the pink tank. See you later, blue guy. And there goes that weird crossbow looking thing. Yeah, it makes no sense. And come on. 5, 6, 7. I didn't make it this far in the first game, and I'm in terrific shape here. Oh, there goes a gun. And there goes another one. Is there one in the middle there? Yep, see ya. Oh, and there's only one guy left at the end. Not a problem. Let's finish off the fort. There's 8, 9, 10. Nice! I just love that explosion. It feels epic and well earned. But come on, that waving white flag, that's what we're playing this for. If Mr. Jeppa, my grade 5 math teacher, happens to see this video, I'm so sorry. And Bruce Carver, thanks for the great memories. Oh, and remember that countdown from the general quarters level that didn't quite finish? I couldn't let that just go. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. And if you have any memories of Beachhead, I would love to hear them. Drop them in the comments or on our Discord. The link is in the description. Hope to see you again.